Okay, hello, good evening, and welcome to another edition of Eye on Pod, which is proudly brought to you by the Ghana Revenue Authority, the Ghana Ports and Harbours Authority, GOIL Company Limited. And I always remind you that if you're Ghanaian and you're not buying your fuel from GOIL, then I don't really know what you're waiting for, because you know, even in these times, they have reduced their fuel and trying to ensure that every Ghanaian benefits from whatever GOIL is transacting in. They continue to do a lot of also donations to institutions. And even this week, there's one that I'm going to show to you as well. The Ghana Community Network Services, GCNet, is also a proud sponsor of this program. West Blue Consulting as well, and Serene Insurance. They offer the best of insurance. If you're doing trade and you need to insure your products and all of that, Serene Insurance is the way to go. The Business and Financial Times is our proud media sponsor. The Ghana Web as well. If you go on Ghana Web, you should be reading almost everything about this program. The content of the program week by week is published on that platform. So read a lot from there. The Business and Financial Times Tuesday edition, they published the content of the program as well. And then they also bring you the schedules of all the vessels that arrive in the port. So if you're expecting a car or goods at the port, you should know the vessel that brings that to you. We show on the screens. They also publish in the newspapers. Tomorrow at 8:30 p.m., GH1 will be showing a abridged version of this program on that network. And also on Wednesday at 8:30 p.m., the Ghana Television, that's GTV, should be showing an abridged version of this program. Folks, we're going to assess the national and continental trade agenda that we had before this whole COVID-19 issues came around. What were the issues? What were the plans we had as far as trade is concerned? And now that we have this COVID-19, to what extent has that affected some of those trade agenda that we had? And also, how do we look forward into the future? I recall that just before the COVID-19 pandemic, Nigeria had closed their borders. We were not taking goods into that country. Today, almost every country has closed its borders to humans. But cargo is moving. What's the state with Nigeria now? Are they allowing cargo to move in, or they are not? They're still standing by all of that. We'll digest all of that issues. Fortunately, I have the man who's been steering affairs when it comes to that kind area. The Deputy Minister for Trade and Industry, Honorable Carlos Ahinkra, has joined me in the studio, and we'll be doing justice to that particular subject. We'll return pretty shortly after the break, and we'll continue the program.
Here's innovation from GOIL that takes you further. New GOIL Super Synthetic 5W20 and 5W30 lubes have been expertly crafted with the latest in liquid engineering technology, highly advanced for modern engines, prolongs oil change intervals, save you fuel, clean, protect and enhance engine performance. The way engines work has become complex, and GOIL has innovated to stay ahead. Expertly crafted lubricants that work excellently with all petrol and diesel engines of today. New GOIL Super Synthetic 5W20 and 5W30 lubes. Innovation that takes you further. GOIL. Good energy.
Dear valued client, the Ghana Trade Hub mobile app is now live to make it easy to track your consignment and know the estimated duty payable for both general goods and used vehicles. We are pleased to inform you that the Ghana Trade Hub mobile app is available for download on Google Play Store for Android users and the App Store for Apple users. The Ghana Trading Hub mobile app is now live. Download and never be cheated. This is powered by the Smart Ports project under the auspices of the Government of Ghana and the Ghana Revenue Authority. Smart Port, improving Ghana's ease of doing business.
Electricity, then pay your taxes. Yeah. Our taxes, our future.
Because you see, without our taxes, we wouldn't have good roads, good schools, better hospitals, street lights, and other very important social amenities. When we pay our taxes, we give our children free and quality education. Tell God, my money too small. Why should I pay my tax? Look, small. Salifo, it doesn't matter how small or big your business or income is. You still have to pay your taxes. The little taxes from each and every one of us, when put together, could give your community clean water or that deprived school with tables and chairs. Please pay your taxes. It is your responsibility. It is your civic duty. It is the law.
Oh, how are you?
Hi Yvonne, a few words please. Everyone is talking about the fire at your production house last week. How are you holding up? Has production stalled?
No, not at all. My crew and everyone on my set is perfectly fine because I insure with Serene Insurance. As a matter of fact, I've had all my equipment replaced, including the vehicles that were affected. My workers have been sorted out. Even my production downtime has been covered, so it's all good. I have a meeting to attend to, so I have to get going. Sorry about that.
Which insurance company did you mention?
Serene Insurance, the new face of insurance, a member of First Sky Group.
Welcome back from the break. You're still watching Iron Port, and like I earlier announced, we're going to talk about assessing the national and continental trade agenda before the COVID pandemic and also after the COVID pandemic, what we are to expect. Even now, the issues that are raging, I talked about the Nigeria one, also the African Continental Free Trade Secretariat that we are hosting, for instance. We were supposed to commence a lot of things around it even in March. We will see whether all of that will come to fruition. Let me introduce my guest at this point, Honorable Carlos Ahenkra, Deputy Minister for Trade and Industry, Member of Parliament for TEMA West constituency. Honorable, always a pleasure to have you in the studio. Good to see you.
Good to see you.
Looking
too.
Nice.
Thank you.
COVID hasn't had you yet.
Well, no,
and it will never have you.
Inshallah, it will never.
But how's the constituency doing?
Well, so far so good. I mean, I don't think we can complain because the people there already know what they want, and they've already endorsed me overwhelmingly. So I don't think seem to have too much of a problem.
You've got the primaries to run, right?
That's what I'm talking about.
Okay. And you're confident that you're going to go through?
Certainly. I mean, I know I have done a great lot of service to my people, both the polling station executives, the constituent executives, and of course the coordinators. And beyond that, the constituents themselves, the electorates. You may want to know what has happened even within this short time that COVID has taken over our space. From Christmas, during Christmas, I managed to share about 5,000 households with foodstuffs. And within this COVID period, I've done almost the same number of households. Not, of course, to mention what I've done for my MPP people themselves. So they should tell you a certain story that I am on top of issues and the people appreciate me so well.
Nice. Good to hear.
I also appreciate them. Let me use this medium to say I appreciate them so very much.
Let me give you some sanitizer.
Thank you.
Notice the way you were talking about COVID. Let me give you the way you were talking about COVID. And I'm doing that because, you know, that we've got a letter or a release from the Ministry of Health that's asking everybody to begin to put on the mask everywhere from tomorrow, and it's compulsory at public places. So, folks, it's important that you put on the mask. We are not going to do it here on the program because we've observed all of that, and then we're also not in public space. But as much as possible, don't forget, continue to use this wherever you are. When I started using it very, very early in the stages, from February, early part of February, people thought I was just being too careful. But today, we have all seen the need to put it on. If you really want to stay safe and healthy, please put it on so that you can be healthy and watch at the same time next week. So the release says that pursuant to Section 169 of the Public Health Act 2012, the minister responsible for health by an executive instrument that's EI 61 declared COVID-19 a public health emergency. Section 170 clause 1 of the act provides that the Minister of Health may order an individual to take a preventive measure in respect of public health matters. This directive is hereby issued in compliance with the provisions aforementioned. So from there, the minister goes on, it's a whole article, I'm sure that you find it somewhere. He goes on to say that everybody should ensure that you put on the mask. So beginning tomorrow, you step out of your homes, going to work, try put on your mask.
And let me quickly add, Sami, that within that law that you mentioned, or that you've quoted, there are penal provisions.
Okay.
So if you don't wear the mask, the
penalties will apply. Good, good. So quite a number of releases we saw. Last week we hinted a little bit of it. The Minister for Transport directing the shipping lines to see if they can help with the demurrages within the period that we had the lockdown. The Ghana Shippers Authority, pursuant to that directive that was issued to them by the ministry, also made an appeal to the shipping lines to consider same on behalf of the good people of Ghana. So what you're saying is that if you're doing business and we are in hard times like this, please consider and help to make business in this country the best. We may find time sometime to discuss this subject going into the future if it still emerges or rages going into the future. Honorable, the numbers of COVID-19 is now looking too good. 1,550 cases, 11 deaths. But recoveries are fine though.
Yeah, but it was expected. I mean, this is something that the pundits actually predicted that if we should go through all this contact tracing and do all the massive or the testing that we envisage to do of this contacts that we are going to trace, then certainly some of them are going to show some level of infection. So these are not new cases probably that are coming up, or these are not people who have traveled into Ghana and are showing the symptoms, but these are the people that we've tested through contact tracing who have come out positive. Okay. So people, you see, sometimes when you go somewhere and people are alarmed that the thing is spreading, and whilst we keep on observing the restrictions and of course the guidelines, it's also important that we also allay our fears so that we don't create fear and panic. That people should understand that to the extent that we are going to test some people who are believed to have come into contact with people who are already infected, certainly there will be some of them who will show positive signs of infection. So these are the people that we are showing. You remember the Ministry of Health mentioned that they have traced over 80,000 people, and about 60,000 plus tests have been done at a certain point. We are going to do all of these. That notwithstanding, within the 14 days, 21 days restriction that was pronounced on us, we are certainly going to find people showing symptoms after this incubation period. And so therefore it does not necessarily mean that going to work or talking to somebody, if you don't have anywhere to go, just stay home, as the president has said. If you don't have anything to do outside, just keep indoors. But it does not necessarily mean that people should be fear-stricken and think that this is running amok and everybody stands a chance. Yes, of course, but it depends on the way you take charge of your own life. So this is a deadly disease. It is there. People should be afraid of it, but it is not necessary for people to create any
as
fear.
terrible as the numbers.
The numbers will certainly show what it's showing, because we had already tested some people, and I even know that it's going to go more than that.
I see. Yeah. Interesting. Well, so a few organizations, benevolent organizations, have been charitable to the port environment, the port industry. The International Maritime Hospital, for instance, got some support from a company that's helping some of the frontline workers there. And I'm sure that you've heard all over the world, the frontline workers are being celebrated for the immense job they are doing as far as the COVID is concerned. And the International Maritime Hospital has quite a number of those frontline workers who are working in the hospital, ensuring that everything goes on well. So Be Nice Catering Service decided to also show some niceness to these people. Be nice to the frontline workers who work at the International Maritime Hospital. We're going to take that. In addition to that, GOIL company is also showing a lot of love when it comes to the COVID-19. Let's pick all of that and we'll come back, deal with Honorable.
The CEO of International Maritime Hospital, Dr. Sylvester Opong, has advised the general public that the lifting of restrictions on movements of persons by the president does not mean the COVID-19 pandemic is over.
We all heard that the ban on restrictions was lifted. It does not in any way mean that the pandemic is over. In fact, we are virtually starting.
Dr. Sylvester Opong gave the advice when Benice Catering Services, a catering company in TEMA Community 5, presented packed prepared meals and water worth some 2,200 Ghana cedis to the frontline staff of the International Maritime Hospital, who have been breaking their backs to provide quality healthcare for the public in this period of the coronavirus pandemic. All over the world, frontline workers are being celebrated for their immense contribution to providing healthcare during this period of coronavirus pandemic. The CEO of Benice Catering Services, Nanefia Anane Asamoah, described the gesture as the company's widow's mite towards the International Maritime Hospital's fight against the COVID-19. She believes this would reduce the man-hours spent by frontline staff to buy food outside the hospital facility and nourish them to carry on their duties.
What can I do to support, or what can I do to help? And the nurses and doctors and all the frontline workers came to mind. And I wanted to show the support to a community or somewhere that I'm close to, because at least they know that we think about them as well.
The CEO of IMAH expressed gratitude to Benice Catering Services for the gesture and welcomed any support to the International Maritime Hospital and its frontline workers in these difficult times of fighting the coronavirus pandemic.
Throughout the country and everywhere, we thank all organizations, individuals and companies that have been helping to help the government to handle this COVID-19.
He therefore advised the public to stay home as an important measure against the spread of the coronavirus disease.
Let us stay at home if we have nothing essential doing out there, because if we stay at home,
Indigenous Oil Marketing Company, GOIL Company Limited, has presented personal protective equipment, Veronica buckets, and disinfectants to the ASHAIMAN Polyclinic in support of the government's efforts to stem the spread of the COVID-19 pandemic. The items, valued at 20,000 Ghana cedis, comprise Veronica buckets, medical overalls, 2,000 pieces of hand sanitizers, 5 pieces of face shield, 500 pieces of surgical nose mask, 500 pieces of medical gloves, paper towels, and 10 gallons of liquid soap. This follows an appeal from the ASHAIMAN Polyclinic to GOIL for support, which was promptly responded to by the oil marketing company in accordance with its commitment to promote the safety of frontline workers. The company has already made similar donations to other institutions in Accra and Kumasi since the coronavirus disease broke out. The Konfo-Anokye Teaching Hospital, the 37 Military Hospital, and the Ghana Private Road Transport Union have all been beneficiaries of GOIL's gesture of donating to fight COVID-19. The company has also donated an amount of 200,000 Ghana cedis to the National COVID-19 Fund to support government's efforts in combating the disease. Presenting the items at a brief ceremony at the ASHAIMAN Polyclinic, the Public Relations Manager of GOIL, Robert Trey, said the company recognized the remarkable role of all frontline workers in the fight against the coronavirus disease, hence its decision to offer them support.
This morning we are here at ASHAIMAN Polyclinic as part of efforts to assist frontline workers to perform their duties safely and to ensure that whatever they do, they don't fear being contaminated.
Receiving the items on behalf of the hospital, the head of ASHAIMAN Polyclinic, Dr. Mavis Opong Ado, expressed appreciation to GOIL for the gesture, describing it as the right donation at the right time.
When we protect ourselves in our own small corner, we are protecting everybody. And these donations that you have made, they are the right donation at the right time. It's so fit for purpose. Then we are very, very grateful.
My guest in the studio, Honorable Carlos Ahenkra, Deputy Minister for Trade and Industry, Member of Parliament for TEMA West. Honorable, the last time you were here, we talked a lot about trade within the region. We talked about Ghana relationship with Nigeria as well, and the fact that Nigeria had closed its borders at the time, and you had, as I alluded to earlier, you had played significant role on behalf of your boss, of course, the minister, going there and assessing the situations and all of that. What was the situation before we entered into this whole COVID thing? So by the time you left here, and because at that time you had appealed that cargo owners, truck owners should advise the drivers to come back into the country. Yeah. What was the situation before we got into COVID?
Well, thank you very much, Sammy. Let me say a good evening to viewers. Yes, I remember it was just at this particular forum that you put that question, and I pleaded with people who have their goods stuck at the border to return back to their trucks and bring their goods back home. Because it was the president's instructions that we ensure that every Ghanaian registered truck is not left at the border, but we make sure we bring them back home, because there was no, imminent dates that the Nigerians were ready to reopen their border. Lo and behold, I think that announcement went very well. And as I speak to you, I would say majority of them, if not all, have brought their trucks back home. Some of them, yes, some of them came into Togo and decided to do business with their goods in Togo, which is their right. Others also brought theirs straight into Ghana, and so on and so forth. So virtually that problem was resolved somehow. So before
cargo was stranded, or cargo driver was stranded at the border.
Well, at this particular moment, I would not be able to say if every truck moved from the border, but I will tell you, I can say that almost all of them left. If anybody didn't leave, then they have their own reason for not leaving. But a lot of the trucks, or almost all the trucks, left the border back to
What interventions did the government put in place for them?
Yeah, what we did, actually, if you remember what I said last time, I went there myself in person, and we had to have a discussion with the Foreign Affairs Ministry of Benin, and of course the Finance Minister, for them to give us a clear passage and allow our trucks to come back trouble-free, because Benin has a special transit regime where people have to pay, some kind of money on their transit cargo, which is not meant for home consumption within Benin, but just using their corridor. You pay as if you are bringing goods to their country. So whilst the owners of the goods have paid on their way out, we knew that if we asked the drivers to just come back, in crossing the border back into Togo, they were going to have to pay the same amount. So we had to go in there, as the president asked us to do, to go and have some discussion within the two ministries. And of course, the foreign minister was so accommodating. He's a very, very smart, good man who, applauded Ghana for the role that we played in West Africa integration, Africa as a whole. And they gave us a letter almost immediately that our trucks will be able to leave the Benin the city limits, or within the confines of the letter that they have said to us, just to go out free passage. Luckily, we got to Togo. We went to see, or we had a meeting with the Ghana ambassador to Togo, and he also made a similar arrangement for the Togolese authorities to allow trucks to move out seamless. So it was not a problem at all. The part that even makes more sense is the fact that the Customs Commissioner, the GRA Commissioner General, sent a custom officer with us throughout the program. And when we went, we left him there, so he had to bring the trucks back home. So you can imagine how trouble-free the whole exercise was. So by and large, that's where we got into. And,
but what about the relationship with Nigeria when it comes to the closure of their borders? Did they remain or stick to that particular position or posture that their borders were closed up until COVID-19 came in?
Sammy, for your information, the Nigeria borders are still closed.
I see.
Even as today.
To cargo. to cargo.
Persons as well.
For persons, almost all of us, I mean, Ghana has closed their borders.
Post-COVID, yes, you could say that. But before the COVID, to cargo, it was closed.
I see.
And it's still not been opened.
Even to cargo?
Even to cargo. Unlike our situation where
cargo is going in and out.
Moving.
Oh, I see.
Yes. So Nigeria is in a different, world altogether when it comes to this border thing. But of course, for us, it came in as an eye-opener, because when this COVID thing came in, everybody played in Nigeria. We had to also close our borders to protect our citizens and so on and so forth. And that's where the effect actually showed the whole world over. Because America is closing its borders, Canada is closing its borders, the UK, everybody is closing their borders to protect their citizens. So the world became a whole big Nigeria. And that is what we find ourselves in today. But as far as we are concerned, it got to a point we realized that Nigeria was not prepared to do that border opening thing for us. We started, or traders started sending their goods through the port to, as it were, use the maritime transport system to ship their cargo to Nigeria. Let me sound this message out there, that we did not cut trading with Nigeria because of the border closure. No, it's not possible to, as it were, decide not to trade with, brothers or your sister that you are in the same region with. We had to find a solution to all this. And for your information, those traders who relied so much heavily on Nigeria imported from Nigeria by sea, and those from Nigeria who relied on Ghanaian products or raw materials imported from Ghana also by sea.
What's the consequence of this if it continues after, say, COVID, and we continue to see this push-up from Nigeria?
If you remember last time when I came here, I mentioned that once we commenced the AFCFTA, this kind of closure and not allowing neighboring countries to
come in and out with cargo,
it's going to be a thing of the past.
You think so?
Because yes, the AFCFTA frowns upon things like this, and that's why in that document we have the dispute resolution mechanism where people are allowed to bring their case to the fore, and a panel is set up to adjudicate on whatever measures that is supposed to take into, as it were, look into that matter. And in this particular instance, Nigeria would have to prove to the panel, or to the AU for that matter, that they suffer some injury if they open their borders to cargo entry. I think that they will not be able to succeed in that sense, because if you really want to ensure regional cooperation or African integration, things like closing your borders or not allowing people to cross should be a thing of the past. Rather, you strengthen border regulations, tighten entry requirements, and allow people to, as it were, understand that, look, you cannot just get goods to the Nigerian border and enter as you want, but you need to go through certain procedures which is stringent. But you cannot just close it and say, I've closed my border.
You want to be on your own.
And that's not possible. It's not possible.
I'll take you back to the regional level again, but let me push you back home. Before COVID, what were some of the plans that you had, the trade ministry, or what was the trade focus of the country? We saw your boss, for instance, traveling to one of those Western countries and then talking about automobile industry and the hope that we're going to see the some automobile companies come into the country to operate. Not long, was as imminent. And there was also, a couple of other projects that we heard you talk about. Give us a fine picture of what the situation was before COVID.
Yeah, you see, Samuel, the economic growth of every country hinges strongly on industrial transformation, as the extent to which they indulge in industry that actually translates into the country's economic power. If you recall, when we came into government in 2017, the president in his wisdom saw that the most important thing to grow this economy, or the most important posture to grow this economy, was to enter into an aggressive industrial transformation agenda. So we came up with this system, about 10 of them, one of the flagship one being the One District, One Factory. The idea was to, first and foremost, have an even distribution of factories within the country, Secondly, it was to ensure or put a check on rural-urban migration. We're also indulging in producing for export and also producing for import substitute. And of course, last but not least will be to enhance the natural resource endowment of the various districts in Ghana. We managed to do this very aggressively and of course very successfully. Unfortunately, when COVID set in, it has actually eroded some of the gains that we have chalked so far.
I see.
But that doesn't mean that it's going to be the end of the vision of the wise president. In actual fact, the idea of entering into this aggressive industrial transformation was to boost our export potential and ensure that within a matter of 10 years, we're able to double the exports out of Ghana. If I'm not mistaken, the Ghana Export Promotion Authority envisaged about $10 billion within 10 years to, as it were, catapult Ghana's export potential to that stage. Be that as it may, we are still on that, level tangent of ensuring that we will not shelve or we will not allow anything to break this program down. I'm sure you're going to ask about, so what will happen if the president asks that everybody should get into their rooms and not come out and only food processing and medicine
essential goods.
Essential goods are supposed to go. Yes, that is true. And I will not, lie that many companies or many industries actually really did suffer these 3 weeks that they went under that restriction. But the government has quickly jumped into their assistance by coming up with a stimulus package to help these industries that are going to suffer because of the closure. You may recall that not too long ago, President in his address mentioned a $600 million stimulus for SMEs, which is MSMEs, the micro, small and medium scale enterprises. That $600 million is going to be rolled out, and I'm sure that very soon we're going to see adverts in the papers asking people who actually are distressed, and let's repeat it, people who are distressed, who have been affected by this COVID, or whose businesses have been affected by the restrictions, will be allowed to access this monies. And also that notwithstanding, we intend, we don't even intend, I would say that the president came in with some reliefs regards to utilities, where 50% of electricity was paid or was taken off of everybody's bill. Water is free, and we were only thinking about water for my home and your
households.
Home.
Does it include industries and manufacturing?
Industries, manufacturers are also enjoying this. You see,
both the electricity and water.
Both the electricity and water.
Okay.
You see, and this is, you see, it only takes a visionary leader to be able to come up with such, nice ideas.
I'll come to.
Did you hear what my last statement?
I heard it. Okay. I heard it. I'll come back to that, but I'll still take you back again. Okay. And you talked about some of the gains being eroded. If you can specify some of the gains, and again, getting back to some of the things that I was asking about, the automobile business, for instance, that we're hoping to see within the very shortest period of time.
Yeah.
What happened to that?
Good.
And then you also talk about some of the gains that were eroded. What gains were you making, that, and how were they eroded?
Well, for example, you see, Sammy, if companies work, people get paid salaries, government gets taxes. Traders get goods to sell. Market is very vibrant. Everybody is happy. Once there's a seizure in the supply chain, then at least some of the people that I've mentioned in this chain would have to suffer some of the consequences, and that is what I'm talking about. As we speak, the finance ministry is not expecting to see the same amount of revenue that they were expecting to receive in 2020, as was mentioned in our budget. And I'm sure that the finance minister, when Parliament should resume, will come back and make this pronouncement to the whole country. In fact, he has even been quoted in some circles as saying that it might take this economy 3 years to recover, which for me I think is very generous. If it should take us 3 years to recover,
it's very generous.
Very, very generous, because the larger economies, the Americans and the UKs, are going to take close to 7-8 years to come back to life.
But in our case, have we lost that much?
Yes, we have. Yes, we have, in the sense that apart from the fact that we are not able to make the revenue we expected to make, now government has to go out there and look for money to come and use as a bailout for companies who are distressed. So it should tell you a certain story that the kind of hole that this whole thing is going to create in the government coffers is going to be very big. And before they fill it up, to go up again on it is going to take some time.
What have we lost within this period? Let's say from February ending, or say March, the whole of March and half of April.
I won't be able to.
From trade. From trade.
Well, from trade, what I can say is world over, maritime trade has reduced by 25%. And if you look at the Ghana situation, I think we might even suffer a little bit more, because we rely heavily on imports or imported cargo for our markets. And if the countries from where we're going to import these cargoes are on lockdown, if the factories that are supposed to produce and supply us are not working, then it stands to reason that people will not have their wares or their goods coming in. So certainly the numbers of containers that we expect would go down. I have not checked with the Port Authority, but I can tell you that Ghana will certainly be, our losses will be over and above the 25% predicted average in the world. But let us put that aside. What we need to think about right now is to how we can encourage our traders to enter into production or manufacturing. You see, like I said, and I keep on saying that we have a very visionary leader. If you want me to explain.
Please.
The way the president has handled this COVID situation, by attacking the disease itself with a series of regulations and guidelines for us to follow. We started way before a lot of the matured economies even realized that they need to start. As I speak to you, New York or US has now started contact tracing in some of the states. UK did not take off early because they thought they were a mature economy, so nothing of the sort could happen to them, and so on and so forth. But we did ours early, and it is amazing. People outside are even shocked that the president was able to call off the lockdown as early as 3 weeks within the period. Today, as I speak, industry is working again. If we are able to push more people into industry, into production, then we'll stand a bigger chance of being able to export our goods to the outside world. I was very enthused when a company in Ghana here told me that for the first time, Netherlands has agreed to take their drinks. You know how difficult it's been for us to be able to enter these markets with our foods and beverages.
Yeah.
Yes, because they always come up with SPS problems. That's a sanitary and phytosanitary reasons. So you are not able to enter into their markets. Today, these companies in Ghana, beverage companies, are being asked to bring their goods into Netherlands. So I will take advantage of this program and encourage our exporters to double their production and look for outside supplies and ship their cargoes outside.
Yeah.
Those who are not in production should see how they can enter into it as quickly as possible.
Yeah.
Because people, or where we import our cargoes from, if they are on lockdown, they cannot go to the factory and produce your goods for you. So now they would rather rely on you and accept your products.
So I was going to come to that and ask you if what can we do to take advantage of what has happened, even though we have lost that much from it. And now that we have opened up our businesses to come back to operate, what can we do to quickly be able to fill the gap that we have lost? Probably take advantage of what is happening elsewhere and see if we can fill in some of the gaps. You talk about Finland, which country was it? Finland?
No, Netherlands.
Netherlands, now accepting beverages. It's probably, wouldn't you say that it's probably now time to look at how best we can quickly take advantage and export to certain areas where maybe hitherto they wouldn't have even accepted us. Now, out of need, may want to look at us.
That's exactly what is happening right now. And for your information, that is why the president himself has taken the lead in this program to ensure that Ghanaian products are manufactured in larger numbers to be exported. If we are asking about the measures, then
yes. What is government doing?
First one, government has actually force-fed or pushed down the base rate to 14%. I don't know whether you're aware. Yeah, and we are asking the financial institutions to commit about, I think, 3 billion cedis for private sector assessment. That notwithstanding, I just mentioned 600 million that we're going to roll out for SMEs. And
a stimulus package.
A stimulus package. This is money that's going to go to bail them out if they are suffering. All these are going to go to Ghana. That support for them to be able to improve on their production and be able to export as large as we expect them to export. So these are the measures that we are taking. Aside that, the Ministry of Trade, it's also engaging local entities to, as it were, support in the production of, for example, PPEs or essential, as I would say, equipment that is needed for this COVID, handling of this COVID thing. Not too long ago, the Ministry of Trade, or let me say Cabinet approved for Ministry of Trade to look for a couple of our garment and textile industries to, as it were, get them to start production of PPEs, nose masks, and this gowns and stuff like that. And we are doing them here. You see, there are companies in Ghana who have over 1,500 sewing machines sitting in the way. It's so large, like a football field. If you enter their factory, it's like a football field.
And now they can manufacture.
And now we're supposed to produce about 3.6 million nose masks here in Ghana. As I speak to you, they are almost nearing about half of this production. They are doing gowns, they are doing that, they're doing that. Hitherto would have gone out there to import from China, from India, from let's say UK, and so on and so forth. Now we are being forced to do it here. There's so many things that we import from the outside that if people were smart, they should start thinking about how to produce those things here, and the government would pay them to do them here so that we don't have to import.
That's what I was going to ask you. Would government then begin to now look at and identify some of these industries and companies and also quickly begin to push them to produce some of these things that today we are seeing them produce now, so that we can sustain it? So it wouldn't be as if after COVID, okay, those who were all bringing the sanitizers and manufacturing them within Ghana will now go back and relax. Okay, let me get back to my petition because that is what I was doing before. And then allow people to now continue to import. How do we sustain the advantage that we are taking of the situation now to even manufacture the things that we were ordinarily not manufacturing in this country?
Sorry, you see, naturally, demand pushes supply. And if there's a demand for a particular product, certainly supply is automatically enhanced. Today, as I speak to you, there's a turn of hand sanitizer, for example, and everybody is pushing for that product. People even change their production lines to start manufacturing hand sanitizers. And I can say that if we should go and look at the on the market and see which product is actually doing well today, nobody would say anything apart from hand sanitizer. There's going to come a time when post-COVID, people might not find, so much use for hand sanitizer. So this interest will not be there as we see today.
Are you sure? It may not be of that volume, but people will now still continue to see that there's a need to sanitize, clean your hands all the time.
I'm not saying nobody is going to use it, but the demand, the supply as now.
Understood.
Let me give you a very good example. Remember when we were going into this 2016 elections, just by the president sipping Calipo, I don't know whether you remember
Yeah.
that story.
Yeah.
The demand for calipo
went high.
So high. Today, after elections, let's just find out how calipo is doing on the market. So that is, I'm not saying calipo is not doing well, but it is not as huge in demand as it used to be pre-election. So basically, these things will happen. For example, again, look at the way everybody is rushing for Veronica buckets. Hitherto, I'm sure people would even import some from outside and use, for their own, on their own. But as it stands today, almost every plastic manufacturer is changing their production line to produce Veronica. But everybody is going for Veronica buckets. There's going to be a time the demand for Veronica bucket will not be as huge and large as we see today. So that is how it is. But when you get to that point, I'm sure that these manufacturers know how to handle themselves to re-engage the economy within the confines of what it really wants.
Aside the visible COVID-related products that we are seeing shoot up within the market, and I'm going to come back to you on the automobile thing again because I still want to know the fate of that. But aside this visible COVID-related items, the sanitizers, the nose masks, and all that we are seeing shoot up in the market, people are still at home. People are still here, and they are consuming the basic things that they used to consume. Food is being consumed at home. Soaps are being used. Other things are being used. To what extent is government or the trade ministry looking at also letting us buy into some of the things that we manufacture or we produce locally? People are at home. And I recall that when we're sharing food during the lockdown, for instance, a lot of people were saying that this is the time to even share locally produced rice, for instance. So things, tin fish that are produced in the country, can we take advantage of now being confined to our environment, our Ghana walls, and say that let's look at all the things that we can manufacture as a country and begin to get our hands on them?
Well, you see, Paul again is coming in. Sammy, production is one thing and marketing is another. People who produce or who manufacture cargo should find a way to make their products visible, to penetrate the market. Unfortunately, that is one thing that goods that are made in Ghana so far. A lot of people would produce and they don't have the what it requires to, as it were, get those goods out there for people to patronize. Today you see people using social media and so on to as it were, showcase their wear for people to buy. What we were doing, or what we are doing in the ministry, even before COVID, was to first and foremost take stock of what people have in their shops, especially these retail stores. We wanted to find out how many shelves, for example, in their shops carry made in Ghana goods or goods made in Ghana. We did an exercise with an agency, and the name doesn't come to mind readily. And we realized in some particular cases, shops were displaying less than 8% of their total products in the shop being made in Ghana goods. So at a point when we come with a full data of this information, we're going to convince or come out with a policy or even move to get the legislation to ensure that at least people who are selling locally in Ghana, retail stores or retail chains that are doing business in Ghana, will find a way to, as it were, stock some goods that are made in Ghana for people to be able to see that, oh, these detergent can be traced or can be found in Ghana, or that particular drink can be found in Ghana. A friend of mine some time back came from South Africa and was lodged in one of these 5-star, 4-star hotels here in Ghana. When he went for breakfast one morning, he looked at what was served on the table and decided to write down where all these products were coming from. Amazingly, not even the milk that was provided on the table was from Ghana. Nothing there was from Ghana. The sausage was from somewhere, the bacon was from somewhere, the tea was from somewhere, coffee was from somewhere, everything was from outside in that hotel. So he asked me, I said, look, so how do you guys intend to grow your country, to grow your economy, when everything that these hotels who are taking advantage of the serenity of your economy is coming out from outside?
And what was your response?
Well, I had to bow down my head, and not ashamed though, but I had to bow down my head just to skip the question, because it's something that baffles me too.
And what can we do about it?
What we can do about it is to come up with policy or have a legislation to ensure that some of these things are left for indigenous Ghanaian companies to provide. But be that as it may, today as we find ourselves in COVID, a lot of these companies will not be able to bring these things from outside. Certainly, they would have to rely on what is manufactured here locally. So if our local manufacturers are able to up their game and ensure that they come up with a product which will meet that standard that they expect, I'm sure that even post-COVID, they were not going to go back to bring anything.
Yeah, but beyond they upping up their game so that we're able to, or they're able to attract the market post-COVID, what can policy also do to ensure that within this space, as we are noticing all these things, we can also come up with some policies that post-COVID, it can stick with us?
Well, I mentioned that already.
So
that we are coming up with
the
policy.
gentleman who asked you about the hotel issue, for instance, how do we ensure that almost all the eateries we have around the hotels and restaurants and all of that are able to, you know, serve some of the products that we have coming from the dairy products come from this country. We can have milk coming from here. We can have a lot of things coming from here. What sort of policy direction can emerge out of this?
I've said one already, that we're looking for ways to ensure that the supermarket chains would at least carry a certain percentage of goods that are made in Ghana within their shops when they are displaying.
Maybe what I mean is that what would it take? What would it take us to do? Because I'm looking at something coming out. No.
I'm going to come out. I'm going to come with that. You see, the other side of the story too is that, but you cannot come up with a policy guideline when you don't know or you don't have that firm conviction that the product, the production of that particular product in the country can cover the demand of this country. For example, let's look at meat producing companies in Ghana and assess or come up with the total quantity of bacon they produce in a day, for example. Go around the hotels and all these restaurants and find out the consumption of bacon in a day and see if they are able to match production to the consumption. If that cannot be aligned, then it means that you cannot help but allow people to still go ahead.
And have we assessed that?
Yeah. We are. I told you we are doing that. My domestic trade team is on this. We are doing a lot of work in that direction. If it should happen that we'll be able to provide, let's say, for example, all the type of food uses that we'll see in a club, for example. I mean, if we can, all the food uses that they will put there for their cocktails can be produced here locally. We won't ask them not to import, but we will put countervailing measures for them not to be able to even bring it in the country. That is the policy guideline or direction that this government intends to lead. But we are not there yet. Now we want to get all the data and information that we need to, as the word, go this direction. Once we are, home and dry with every, information that we need, we are going to go ahead and you hear from us. Because we believe that this is the time that Africa, or Ghana for that matter, should reconfigure its direction to meet post-COVID improvement of our economy. And if we are able to hold on to our own, before the larger economies are able to overtake COVID and come back into the limelight, we would have shot forward and gone long before they come. So this is the time that we are also looking to improve our law. That's why the president is coming up with all these programs and all these goodies for industries to be able to improve on their production.
Because I'm looking at the timelines that we have, because one can't actually tell whether we can have post-COVID next month, we can have post-COVID next week, we can have post-COVID 2 weeks away. Maybe that's the reason why I'm pushing for some of these specifics, because I listened to the new after Secretary General when he was being sworn in Addis, and he was wishing, for instance, that our manufacturing companies would now begin to think of manufacturing even ventilators in this country. We have to begin to look at how we can even manufacture beds, so that it's not now that you are going to now import hospital beds when you have situations like this. You know, some way that manufacturing and trade can quickly see the opportunity that has emerged. Of course, you can't take a pandemic like this. You don't want to say that you're looking at the good side of it, but you definitely want to look at how best you can also position yourself getting into the future. That is why I'm asking that as we have this period, are we taking some strict measures that underground is going on? By the time, say, next week, next 2 weeks, we're getting data on industries that can fill in that gap and fill in that gap.
You see, we as a government cannot go out there to set up factories. In fact, it's never been the idea of this government to enter into the industrial subsector and start putting up factories belonging to government. All we do is to provide the enabling environment and assist in private sector to come up with that kind of business. But the fact of the matter is, if you do not have people in a particular industrial setting, it is very difficult for you to say that, look, today there's going to be an opportunity in PPEs,
so begin to look here.
So everybody should go into PPEs. It's difficult. But when you come up with a policy framework, and now here we'll go into the automotive as you've been talking about, like we know that there's a group of people whose business it is to manufacture automobiles. And they are aware all over the world, like trying to send investments where they are required. You put out the policy framework, give them the guidelines, come up with all the nitty-gritties, what they need to hear. Immediately they start running in. That is how you do things. And here we have, for example, been able to, let me use the word lure many of these car manufacturers into the country. As I speak to you, some of them are still in the process of fixing their production lines. Some have even started production. I am aware that one of them has said that latest by August, their first car will roll out of the production plant. So, see, this is a policy guideline that comes in and people start running in. Presently, what the president has done, or what the government has done, is to provide that enabling environment and say, hey, for anybody who wants to go into manufacturing, this is what I've done. I've reduced base rate. I've managed to get the Bank of Ghana to reduce their base rate to 14%. I've managed to convince financial institutions to come together with 3 billion Ghana cedis and give out to private sector production. I have also rolled out a certain amount of money for micro, small, and medium scale enterprises. These are all, I would say, avenues where people can take advantage of and enter into that production framework. But if you go into this production, as I have said, and you are not able to sell, you are not able to market, then you don't even have that inkling to enter into the next cycle of production. That is why we are trying to look at the back end and see how we can speak to these retail chains and people who have shops around the country and ask why they will not be able to show up more made in Ghana goods on their shelves. Because it is very sad that you enter a particular shop and everything you see in that shop is coming from foreign.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, we have companies here that are producing, for example, Eco Juice. We manufacture Eco Juice from Ekunfi. Mm-hmm. I enter a shop, I'm looking for fruit juice to buy, and everything that I see in their fridge is coming from outside. This, that, no Eco Juice. So you ask yourself a question, then how are we protecting our own? How are we intending to
policy
sell out.
to do that.
Yes, so that's what I'm saying. So we're coming out with that policy guideline, and it's going to be very, very smooth. If you want me, you want me to commit to a particular date. Now I'll tell you very soon, because we have actually gone very far in the determination of this information or this data, and very soon you're going to hear something.
Because like even to you have been hearing this, and we hear this quite a lot.
Yeah.
People will ask, Blue Skies is doing a lot of juice, and other companies are doing a lot of juice.
Yeah.
And you go to, let's say, Burkina, you go to Mali, or you go to Niger, and the first thing you are served in a hotel, one Asana or Sobolo or something, you see quite a number of some of these local fruits being juiced, and people are enjoying them. And so people expect to see them equally here, but it looks like the taste for the foreign stuff is just too high back at home. So one is expecting that something should push us to conform to that, to get back to our own, and that should be policy.
You will see it very soon. Like I said, it's already coming, so you will see it.
Let me announce, though, that I see people calling the WhatsApp number that you can send us a message on if you want to join the conversation, 055-901-9177, the number that you can call, and I will announce at the appropriate time when you can call, 020-552-8353. The number should be on your screen, 055-901-9177 is the number you should WhatsApp us on. So I see a +1613 number. But I'm sure that it's coming from Canada. You are calling. You're still calling. The number you can call is 020-552-8353. Please call at the appropriate time when we allow you to call. For now, you can send a message. We are also live on Facebook, and I always get chastised by the entire Business and Financial Times team that you always forget to announce the Facebook address. The Facebook is Iron Port Ghana. My producers Solomon Anderson and Larry Gezi are also always on my neck. So join us if you want to on Facebook and join the conversation. Let me also, while I let Honorable Carlos rest a little while, and I'll come back with him on the automobile, because I still want some specific answers on that. There's a public notice coming from the Ghana Revenue Authority. It says the Commissioner General Ghana Revenue Authority announces the commencement and deployment of the Integrated Customs Management System, that is ICUMS, at all frontier stations and ports of entry in Ghana with effect from Tuesday, 28th of April 2020. It is recorded that in line with the implementation plan for the eventual rollout of the Integrated Customs Management System, ICUMS, nationwide, the deployment to the second phase commenced at Takrady Port on 1st April 2020. Earlier, phase 1 had started on 1st March 2020 at selected customs frontier stations. The third phase, involving Kotoka International Airport and TEMA, started from 20th April 2020. Jamestown and the petroleum sector will complement the entire ICUMS rollout. So accordingly, all customs house agents, declarants operating in all customs offices are entreated to process all bail of entries, that is BOEs, in ICUMS. So I repeat, therefore, accordingly, all customs house agents and declarants operating in all customs offices are entreated to process all bail of entries, that is BOEs, in ICUMS. 5, the following measures will apply. A, all existing declarations being processed in the Ghana Custom Management System for which payment of taxes have not been effected by close of banking day 27th of April 2020 will be required to be reprocessed in the ICUMS as a new BOE or as a new bill of entry from 28th of April 2020. B, all declarations for permits and EMDA's approvals obtained before 28th April 2020, as well as penalties payable before and after 28th, or goods and vehicles that have been overstayed or been confiscated, and temporary imports of vehicles and goods not closed thereon shall be reprocessed after the 28th of April 2020 in the new ICUMS, that is the Integrated Customs Management Systems. So declaration C, declarations for which payments have been made but not been cleared before the 28th of April 2020 shall continue to be processed in the GCNet, that is the Ghana Customs Management Systems, until the 15th of May 2020. D, direct entry into warehouse and free zones and other suspense regimes shall be processed in the ICUMS with effect from 28th April 2020. E, existing warehousing, free zones and other suspense regimes declarations shall continue to be processed in the GCNet, that's the Ghana Customs Management Systems, until the cut-off period of 15th May 2020. Any unresolved challenges regarding the implementation of these transitional measures should be communicated to the respective sector commanders and station heads for further action. Honorable Carlos,
yes, boss.
You know about the ICUMS?
Yes, I do.
Okay. How is this supposed to change things? You're moving a lot from the GCMS into ICUMS.
Why am I not surprised that you brought this up?
Okay, so help me to understand it. ICUMS is supposed to be powered by the UNIPAS system?
Yes.
Okay.
That's the GCMS side of UNIPAS. You know, with the GCNet, we had a GCMS side, that's the Ghana Customs Management System. So that the GCNet itself was a TradeNet platform, and the GCMS was a customs server which nobody could go into. It was a one-way entry, and its exit was always controlled by customs. So that was a security server. ICUMS serves the same purpose. The UNIPAS system itself is a platform, is a TradeNet platform. But ICUMS now becomes customs side of the whole chain, which is going to control the processing of customs declarations and, of course, revenue mobilization.
I see.
Yes.
And you are saying that you are ready for this to take over, and according to the release, Tuesday, 28th of April 2020, government is ready to move on to, or what's that thing, transfer onto that platform.
You see, it's not a matter of government being ready or not. It's a policy that government has come up with, that on this particular date, I am shifting all my system from Metro TV to, let's say, one of your sister TV stations. If you go and look, or if you go and watch Metro TV, you will not find me there, but you find me here on your sister station. You can't do anything about it. Sami, I've been in the port too long to be a witness to some of these changes. I would say that I've been in the port long enough to be part of the single administrative system, single administrative document period, when we used to just fill in a custom declaration and present to a custom officer for duty collection. That was somewhere in the 80s. Now, in the 90s, when Asikuda came into being, there was a smooth transition from SAD to Asikuda. Here, there was no problem, there were no challenges, because the same data, or the data, was still with government. So transferring from SAD to Asikuda wasn't too much of a big deal. Now in the 2000s, when GCNet came into being, and also remember that GCNet, the contract itself was signed by NDC in 1998 by Mr. Abodakwi, and we came to meet it, or we came to implement it in 2000, 2001, 2002. Now, when GCNet took over from Asikuda, again, there was no problem. It was very seamless. Why? Because the Asikuda data itself sat with customs, sat with government. So it wasn't from a private person to another private person. It was from government to government. So it was not too much of a problem, no hassle. We were able to migrate peacefully from Asikuda to GCNet. Now, enter UNIPAS, where now a private company, a private entity that has managed this all this while is supposed to transfer to another private company.
It wasn't just one. I think you as well as West Blue, right? I mean, GCNet and West Blue.
West Blue is not too much of a problem, because West Blue was supposed to be a company to assist customs carry out their mandate, or their, let me say, core mandate. Customs world over are supposed to value imported goods and met out the duties thereon. At the point when we intended to do away with destination inspection companies, Custom did not have the capacity. So we had to bring in a company to come in and assist them to operate a certain platform for them to be able to do the pre-arrivals. It might interest you to note that when this decision was taken in 2015, the company that was selected was Unipass and not West Blue.
In 2015?
In 2015.
Oh, you sure about that? So how did it end up to be West Blue?
You verify this information. It was Unipass. Unipass came into the country. Unipass came to train custom officers. In fact, they even took custom officers to Korea. For 6 months, these gentlemen were here in the country doing their training and putting out their platforms and systems. Just when they were going to be rolled out, or just when they were going to start commence business, the government then sent people to Nigeria to go and look at West Blue, and immediately brought West Blue in and kicked Unipass out.
Okay, so you're saying that you've gone back for that company to come and take back the same job that, in assisting customs to do?
I think you have even made it simpler for me. So when we came in and we realized that the two systems, which is West Blue and GCNet, were not talking, or they were operating in a way that there was too much loopholes for things to happen, and government was not maximizing revenue collection as we wanted. Secondly, we needed a little bit of step up security with regards to revenues collected, not collection but collected. Government doesn't sit in the pause to collect their money. Custom officers don't take money. It's the banks that receive the money. If the banks are receiving the money, there's no Bank of Ghana staff sitting behind the computers or sitting behind the being tellers to receive money. A bank receive it and throw it into the consolidated fund. Government needed a little bit more of security to ensure that those monies collected are what we are protecting. I don't know if you understand me, but I'll give you an example. You see, Paul, you know the value of money at any particular time. You can decide to buy treasury bill for 1 day. You know that? Yes. But the government will give you a 91-day rate. But you can decide on your own to ask your bank to buy treasury bill for you today. Let's say you have $200 million, 200 million cedis. Buy 200 million cedis for me today. Tomorrow you tell them, bring my money back because I need to do something with it. That 1 day, you have money on top of the 200 million. And these are some of the things that government is trying to guard against. In fact, when we came in, some of the measures that our finance minister has placed in our financial sector and the management of the fiscal management of this economy, it's so amazing. For example, the setting of the single treasury accounts, where all government monies will have to go into one account at the Bank of Ghana. Hitherto, immediately the budget is read in Parliament, every department agency receives their money. So you pick it and you put it in the bank of your choice. So the banks were lazy. The banks were not dealing with the private sector as much as they would love to deal with government. Every bank was rushing for government money. Every bank was rushing for project money. Immediately after the reading of the budget, they are all targeting government money. If I have Ministry of Trade's money, I keep Ministry of Trade's account, and they have 460 million, and I have it in my account. Why must I, a bank, why must I go out there and look after or run after a risky business? So the finance minister decided that nobody was going to get their monies anymore to put in any bank of their choice. All the monies go to Bank of Ghana. Now, if you decide to roll out any activity in your budget, let us know. We will issue a commencement warrant, and the controller would authorize Bank of Ghana to release the money to the vendor, not to the ministry.
Okay, but let me take you back to the icon. So are you saying that you couldn't have done some of these reforms that you enumerate with the existing vendors, that you had to move on to integrate this, have this integrated management system?
If you ask me that question, my answer would be this. It would have been a problem. And the problem is the two systems were already in place. They were not talking too well. So it was always going to be a problem as to how to get them to speak.
What do you mean they were not talking to?
We're not talking to her in the sense that, okay, I'll tell you why. You know, when we started sitting on this paperless project thing that the Vice President commissioned me, myself, and some other people to do, we met all of these agencies. And the question that we posed to these two agencies, that why can't they come together to have one common purpose and be able to, you know, align their system in such a way that we won't have any problem in regards to, you know, conformity. It came out that the GCNet system was higher in lines, I think, security and so on. Lines, I'm not an IT person, so I'm able to do the right things. But GCNet system was higher than the West Blue one. And I hear in the world of IT, if your licenses are not on the same level, you cannot fuse. When you do that, you have erred. So, my brother, it might interest you to note that there was serious loopholes, for example, in the clearance of vehicles, that at a point, somebody cleared a Range Rover at 5,000 Ghana cedis.
I see. And what did you do about it? Didn't you take
that? Is what we are. That is what we are doing about. That's what we are doing about it now.
You couldn't have.
Somebody cleared a 40-footer container. Somebody cleared a 40-footer container at 11,000 Ghana cedis.
I see.
So if you tell me that a government does not have any reason to protect revenue that he's going to use to develop the country for you and I, we are crying of roads. I mean, look at this, your car. If you should go and drive it on any rough road, you know how you're going to feel. You know, so we are, as a government, trying to identify these various setbacks that we can correct to maximize revenue collection.
Okay.
So it came to that position whereby we asked ourselves, should we give it to GCNet or should we give it to West Blue? And I'll ask you the question, whom do you think we should have given to? You will not be able to select, because GCNet is a company of its own. And I am a GCNet person through and through. Honestly speaking, I must say here that I am sad to see them go. Because for your information, I have been part of GCNet from its inception. When GCNet started in the port, when I was the chairman of the TEMA branch of KIF, my president then was Frank Sapong. Mr. Kutin, who was the chairman for Central Region, was the first vice chairman. And the TEMA Central MP, who is Kofi Brako, happened to be the immediate past president. The four of us went on the field in 2002 when GCNet started. We pushing ourselves at various points. And we made sure that GCNet will succeed. Because it was the same thing. When it was coming in, all of us, forwarders, were not happy. Because nobody likes separation or change. But we have to make sure that at least we get ourselves committed to get our people also towing in behind us. So we position ourselves in various ways. I was in Sheten, maybe Mr. Sapon was in CFS, KB was in the long room, Mr. Kutin was here. Then we would give the problems as we see in real time. Also, don't forget that our people who are seated in offices, the agents who are in offices working, they don't have anybody on the field's number, but they know that we are on the field. So if they find any problem in the office whilst inputting their information, they call us.
Okay.
Immediately we tell the people, okay, the technical men who are on the ground.
But now you feel they need to be changed for the items to take?
Now, I don't feel, but whether we like it or not, government has identified that for them to maximize revenue, they need to bring a new system, and they have identified the courier system as the best.
Let me ask that. So we heard about some pilots going on, you know, in Takrady and all of that. Initially, there were a lot of hitches that some said it wasn't working, some said it was working, and all of that. Within this COVID period, what has taken place that has guaranteed this readiness to commence the transfer?
Well, I wish you hadn't brought COVID in, because COVID has gone to do with...
No, because this period.
The port wasn't closed.
I'm asking about this period.
Okay.
I'm using COVID as a period because that's the last period we had. And it's been, the last time we had conversation around the Unipass technology was before the COVID period. And that's when we had, you know, various sides saying that it's working, some says it's not working. So what has changed within this period?
Okay, it's as I said, we shouldn't even bring in the period, because it
Is it working now effectively to take over? Is it ready?
I'm coming. Well, the program, the UNIPAS program, started about 2 years ago, and we have been on it, almost on a daily basis.
Is it now ready to be used?
It is ready to be used. But let me quickly say that there's no program that's seamless. I mean, like that's problem free. Certainly, when you start, you would see. I mentioned to you that when GCNS started, we were there on the field, and there were real problems.
Okay.
So this time around, we had
you
a
anticipate
meeting.
there can be problems, but it will be resolved.
Yes, the problem that can be resolved. But we have even had a meeting with GIF.
I also heard that they are riding on the back of some of the facilities of the existing vendors like GCNet and West Blue. Is that true? Do you know about that?
I don't think so. If that were true, they won't say that from the 28th, everybody should migrate to the system. Then what
so
would
you think that they are on their own now? Everything
from the 28th, they should be on their own. They don't have a choice. Once it has come out, once GRA has come out with this publication, and when you were reading this, I was laughing because the English is very similar to what was read to or was sent to us in 2002. When GCNet was starting, and it brings the memories back. And so I think that they must be very ready to ask that everybody migrates on the 28th. But however, I would say that certainly when we commence, when my people in the ports start working with this, they will see some teething problems which can be succumbed. I mean, surmounted. It is not a problem that would say that because of that the system shouldn't work. We met with the leadership of Ghana Institute of Freight Forwarders at the Trade Ministry, and they were, they brilliantly came out with problems that they have seen or people have reported to them. See, let me tell you, if we are able to roll out UNIPAS, it's going to probably be the fastest ever clearance system that we've seen in Africa.
Now you call it ICUMS. So.
ICUMS, yes, okay, that's it. If we're able to roll out ICUMS,
okay,
it is going to be the fastest that you ever see in Africa, because now, as we speak, compliance is virtual. So if I input my documents, everything, I get my UCR, develop my IDF, and put it in. Formally, you have to go and develop your IDF with maybe let's say GCNet, and come and do your UCR with West Blue, and come back to GCNet and do your declaration. You see, you have to move between systems.
And this is not going to let that happen.
No.
That's what I was going to ask you.
And you are home and dry. Immediately you input your declaration. The TSB, the Technical Service Bureau, and Customs would assess based on your documentary evidence and give you the duty you have to pay. You go ahead and pay. Immediately you go to the port to go and clear.
I was going to ask you, and this time link my post-COVID to it, that so after COVID, to what extent or what difference is this going to make within the clearance period that we would have? Because within this COVID period where we had restrictions of movement of people, there were some teething issues, and people had raised quite a number of issues. Other people too had said that this is the best time that we have to sit down and look at how effective we can make our paperless system. You chaired the committee that the Vice President put in place to ensure that we have a paperless system. When we move away and we start using this from 28th of April 2020, the issues that people are hoping to be resolved when it comes to the paperless process, are we going to see this deal with it?
Sami, I hope that you don't attach COVID with this.
No, COVID, I've given you some of the issues that, and for the past 2-3 weeks, I can mention names. Mr. Ayana was on, a few other people.
And they talk about COVID. What does COVID do with this?
No, I'm saying this, that COVID exposed, or the restrictions of movement of people, exposed some of the things that people wish is done to ensure that, people can operate. A lot of paperless stuff can happen.
Yes.
So if you have an integrated custom management system, is it going to assure all of us that we will have that solid paperless system that in the future, if people are to be locked down, there are restrictions on movement of people can transact even at the back end of their homes or offices. That is why I'm linking it.
So that's what I'm saying.
Assume one day we are restrict you as a freight forwarder.
I think I get you. But that's what I'm saying, that when it comes to ICUMS, do not relate it to COVID or no COVID. I'll tell you why.
I know why you don't want me to go.
No, I'll tell you why. Because COVID has not affected operations in the port.
It hasn't.
Even when the president decided to lock us down.
Yeah.
He said the
cargo was moving.
Yes.
And the port was working.
So port was not closed.
Yeah.
And this ICOMS is related to clearance of goods in our ports, airport, borders, and the TEMA port.
Yeah.
And if that were the case, that COVID did not even stop us from working, then I don't want to hear COVID, post-COVID, and pre-COVID. But okay, be that as it may, that COVID, no COVID, whatever. This system is going to be one that in the comfort of your own bedroom, you can input and still get your declaration and go and clear. You don't need to go and sit in the office.
That's the bit COVID brought. The fact that it taught us some lesson that, look, you should be able to have a system where in case you are ever stopped to move in your transactions or in your operations. So can this help? That's exactly what I've been asking.
Okay, no,
to what extent
if you use
can
COVID doesn't only stop you from coming outside to do your work. COVID is so many things. But you want to find out whether in case you don't want to go to work.
Or how effective to what extent would this influence our paperless drive?
This is proper paperless. This one is proper paperless because you don't hold not even a single, even with the banks. In the banks, you have to pay online.
Okay.
Today, because of integration of old and new and so on and so forth, maybe one would have to physically go to the bank and pay. But there's going to come a time. All the banks that are enrolled in this program would have to have a portal that will be rolled out for people to just go in there. Okay. Once their duties are meted out, you go in there and pay from their banks, and you go to the port and clear. So there's nothing like compliance, whereby after doing your documentation, after doing your inputs, you pile up all the documents and go and put in front of a certain compliance officer. No, there's nothing like that. Today, I can sit in the comfort of my bedroom, input everything, wait for the response to come up. If it comes that, look, your duty is 20,000, I go into one of the participating banks. If I have an account there, I deduct 20,000 from my account. It hits the system. They say, go to the port and clear your goods. You go and meet the officer who is the examination. They now do whatever physical examination they want to do, including physical check of your documents. And now you come out. This is proper paperless. So for anybody to have a problem with this one, I think it's because we've not started. But I can assure us that once we start with this system, they will realize that this is probably the best out of whatever they do.
So there wasn't any pilot for people to know that indeed what you're saying that it would bring will indeed come through?
We had started a pilot from the borders, and now we entered into Takoradi. I think on the 20th we started with the airport, and there's not been any problem.
But a place like TEMA is quite busy. You need a pilot?
That is why we do
full pilot.
That's what we do with all the other places before we get to TEMA last. And the reason is this: what you need to do when you're pulling out any system, first and foremost, you need to stress test the system and see if so much data is flowing into the system at a particular point. Is the system able to handle it? What these Unipass people have done is to accept or use dummy data to test the system and see its performance.
But the reality can be different.
I don't think so. I'll tell you why. On the average in TEMA, about 1,500 declarations are inputted onto the system every day on a daily basis. 1,500. The ICOMS system stress tests their product with 5,000 entries, and it was still able to sustain. So it tells you that they are ready.
Okay. Let me ask you about African Continental Free Trade Agreement and our Secretariat. Were we ready to have the Secretariat open to the Secretary General and Administrative by March, as we were hoping to?
We have done a lot of work in that department. I'll say that we have brilliantly moved very fast to, as it were, cover grounds when it comes to set down the Secretariat. And here, let me congratulate my minister. He's done so marvelously well in getting this, of course, him and other ministers that assisted in getting this Secretariat here, and the way they have handled the setting up of the Secretariat, and also the residence for the Secretary General.
Oh, all of that is ready?
All of that is ready.
I see.
Today, when you go past the export trade house, today is African Trade House, where the Exim Bank is housed, yes. As, an international organization, which is going to be considered as a diplomatic corps, we need to do fencing to ensure that they are safeguarded. and the entrance also secured with the gadgets and so on, so that you can go in there through metal detectors and so on and so forth. All of them are done. And, you know, if it hadn't been for COVID, of course, and the closure of borders and the airspaces, the Secretary General would have been here by now, because I know you heard that he's been selected. I mean, this guy, a young guy from South Africa, very brilliant guy. And he was supposed to have been here on the 31st of March. But unfortunately, because of this closure, he's still not in yet. But we are very optimistic that come July 1st, if COVID is over, we are going to commence what you call trading. As it is now, African Union has not come out with any change in the dates.
Okay.
I know.
From the July 1st?
From the July 1st.
Okay.
But I know they are only relying on, I'll say the unknown for COVID to, as it were, abate at a certain point. But if it's not going to work, if it's not going to happen, I mean, I can trust my president to even, roll out some kind of meeting as it did with the ECOWAS people.
Okay.
And get AU to come to the table.
Okay, because I heard His Excellency the Secretary General, the newly sworn in one, saying that he would wish that, looking at the turn of events with COVID and all that, he would wish that we move to 1st January. From January
2021
instead of 1st July, because he thinks that, you know, trade ministers are worried about and governments are worried about saving the lives of their people than getting to start, you know, a whole protocol, regional protocol and all of that. But others also are of the view that, look, if we don't start it, we won't see the commitment. We need to start and also begin to take action and all of that. Where do you stand, though? Because you position for Ghana. So,
in actual fact, it depends. It depends on which way or where you stand or which way you look at this thing. In the minds of the AU leaders, they think that nothing should come to stop this. In fact, nothing at all, because they've actually gone deep down within their own minds to come up with this level of commitment to get this trade pact up to this level. It's never happened before that any trade pact anywhere in the world will commence from 90% commitment. But this, so this AU leaders decided to start from 90%. But I would say that if COVID is not going to allow us to open our air skies and, of course, our airports, then it only stands to reason that at a point one has to come in and announce. I wouldn't sit here and give us a date, but I am very sure that should 1st July not work, then certainly sometime within early next 2021 will be called by the AU leader. But if you ask me, that what's my opinion, I would say that I still stick to 1st July.
Okay.
Something has to happen. Africa has to commence trading, and I want this thing to happen this year.
Okay. So we're going to have some of your messages read out, and I'm sure that already you have some of them scrolling on the screens. Our producers are running some of them there. So this one says, we need our policy visibility at various junctions in Ghana, please. Another one says, okay, so this one from Samson Asaki says, good evening, Ajuman, and good evening to your special guest, Honorable Carlos. My question to him is that what is he and his government take on the SOAG letter to Shippers Authority instead of shipping lines to absorb the demurrages? They rather asking for a further explanation and rebate. Clearly, they are saying they don't take instructions from Ghana government. What is the government position? I am told, okay, so that's coming from something. And then, hello, Samir, there is an urgent need for us to know if below letter is indeed authentic. And there's a letter. Okay, so I would have my producers check this one for you. And the numbers, though, let me quickly announce the phone number if you wish to join us via phone 020552-8353. The number should be on the screen, 020552-8353. This one says, hello, we are expecting the vessel Epic Bermuda to berth in Takoradi on 29th April 2020. Can you kindly confirm? Also, how do you get access for refrigeration technicians to service equipment on a ship? that has birthed in Takoradi. What are the procedures for securing port entry passes for the technicians? Thank you. So this will be forwarded to the Takoradi team, and I'm sure they should get back to you shortly. Please, Sami, good evening. Please, you're not observing some COVID-19 rules. You and your guest are not putting on the nose mask. Your guest slightly cough. Please, I humbly ask you to abide by the COVID. We will abide by that. I have to assure you, though, that the distance between us is even more than the 2 meters. So don't worry about it. And his cough, we know his status when it comes to COVID. So delay import activity is very much difficult to do. Okay, so hello, Mr. Ajaman. Would like to know how government is handling the Unipass issue at the port. Delay in port activity is very much difficult to do business. Honorable Carlos just talked about that. Good evening, Sami. Please ask the Honorable Minister why implementing ICUMS now. Banks now closed at 3 p.m. Shipping lines, online invoicing and releasing take 24 hours. Why can't they wait for or wait after COVID-19? Kofi Japan from TEMA. Honorable, can you address that while I...
Yeah, I think I've spoken about this already, but the only part that it's probably of interest...
the times people are closing and all
and that's what I said, that the ICUMS is looking at that situation where people will not have to physically go to the bank and pay cash. But you can sit in the comfort of your room. After the TSB has sent your declaration back that your duty is 2,000. You go into the bank's portal on your laptop, on your desktop, make payment, and you are asked to go to the port at appointment to go and take your goods. See, this is why we should even get ourselves ready for some of these things. And for me, tell Kofi Japan that this is probably the time that he's even going to enjoy clearance of goods from the port so well. Because otherwise, then every time we have to go through the same straight-jacketed method of clearing goods out of the port. And for me, that is not change. I mean, it's not development, sorry. And if you need to develop, you need to change.
Okay. Alex says, Sami, Honorable Carlos mentioned policy that can force certain areas of the business or products to be left for indigenous Ghanaians to take up. Why are foreign companies being licensed by customs to work as customs house agents? A fight he started long ago before he became a deputy minister. With this, there is already a law against that. Yet licenses are renewed yearly for these foreign companies. He goes on to say, ICUMS can work, but the rush of it is not the best. They started training wrongly, and time has been wasted already. The timeliness given by Commissioner General is not workable. The problems will be many in KIA and TEMA port because of volumes. Okay, so we have a caller, or you wanted to respond to...
Well, yes,
Alex.
Okay. Small about that. So the training, you see, I think what happened here was that my people in the port probably did not, indulge ICUMS early enough when the training program was rolled out. At a point, I heard that even registration became a challenge. And now what I see is that the leadership themselves are, taking up that mantle to assist people in registering onto the system, which is working. ICUMS didn't take off late, but people's interests, I think, came in too late. But be that as it may, I'm sure that nobody in customs or GIA for that matter is going to punish anybody for not starting early.
Okay.
We'll make sure that everybody gets into the system for us to move on.
Okay.
There's something that was said about the custom house agent license that is given to foreigners, which that's a very
long one. You started a long time.
But I see you have people on the line, so when you're done and you have time. Then
so Alex is calling us from Takoradi. Hello, Alex.
Hello.
Yes,
good evening.
Good evening, sir.
Please, I have a very simple question for the Honorable Minister. I'm a teacher, and I wanted to find out if we have any waiver in terms of maybe paying duty at the port. If maybe you import something you want to pay, so let's say a car, and you're going to pay for a duty, do you have a waiver as a teacher?
For teachers? Okay. Okay, so well noted. Let me read this one from Joseph Akbaga. He says, good evening. Some paperless is the way forward. Absolute paperless system should include payment of customs duty electronically, pay shipping lines, MPS, GPH, etc. And these transfers should be instant and exempted from transfer charges. This I expect the Deputy Minister to add his weight to realize. Currently, it takes about a day for transfers to hit the PE's account and comes with charges. KOD says, Bros, ask him if he is aware that declaration that were sent on ICUMS since the 9th of this month are still locked up in ICUMS. Ask if all the shipping lines in TEMA are hooked up on the ICUMS, for which reason they want to roll out in TEMA. I want to draw his attention to the fact that there is an online platform for duty payment, and it is not ICUMS that is going to introduce that. Okay? Do we have AK from, is it LWAC? Hello? Okay, so this one says, my name is Kelly Roxon. Metro TV is my game station. Okay, that goes to MPP and all of that. So, Some may kindly ask Honorable Minister, now that government through Ministry of Transport and Shippers Authority has given directives to all shipping lines to give waivers to all importers, clearly shipping lines would lose revenue. What measures government have for these companies in terms of compensation from Obingasari, TEMA? PIL Ghana Limited is where, according to him, he works. We have Francis from TEMA. Hello, good evening, Francis. Hello. Do we have Francis? Okay. Please, Mr. Ajiman, ask how GCNet collection made and how much better we should expect from Unipass. This is Mrs. Eunice Amwako Malaika. Hello, good evening, Francis. Hello?
Hello, hello.
Yes, sir.
Can I speak now?
Please go ahead.
I just want to ask Honorable Minister Carlos that our cement problem, how is it going about?
Your what problem?
The cement. He said he has put ban on the cement importation and manufacturing. So I just want to know.
Okay. Okay, thank you. Did you say that here?
No,
not here. Somewhere else. Okay, so then you deal with that. Also, please, some countries, this one says we need our policy visibility. Please, some countries are refusing parcel from their post office to Ghana. Please, why, Mike? Oh, okay, not too clear. Good evening, Sami. Please find out from the Honorable Minister the current state of the Commander Sugar Factory. If it hasn't been operationalized, what government plans towards it? Selom in Kumasi wants to know that one. Please, the Member of Parliament knows it takes money to prepare pre-arrival assessment. Why is it that after all the documents we have prepared, waiting for vessels to berth so we can get the rotations to clear, they want us to import it all over again in the new portal? Sami, please ask the Honorable Minister why the CCVR that has been issued already will not be allowed to go through clearing. Some of this IDF go through other agencies like EPA, and we have made payments. So how do we get our monies back to continue on the new portal? Celestina Champon from Spintus. We have a caller, Samson Asaki. Hello, Sami.
Yes, Jamai. Good evening.
Good evening, sir.
Good. I think you are reading too many questions to your guest, and he's not addressing them. I must say, my question, that was the number one or number two question you asked him. The shipping line demurred that the Transport Minister directed Ghana Shippers Authority to write to the shipping company. They've written a letter back to Shippers Authority asking for further and better explanation, and even asking for rebate. I am asking the government, this is the second time the shipping company is doing this in our country, and Honorable Carlos will remember.
Okay.
In 2015.
So, Sammy, I'm going to have to cut you right now, and Solomon and the rest will take care of that for me because I have read that one already, so that we can move on and get response for you. So the producers will do justice to you because I have to move on and take others. Good evening, Sammy. Tell Honorable that I miss him and he's looking good. Okay, can I? Okay, that goes. Honorable, so deal with some of the responses for me, including Sammy Asaki's own.
I will start with that one because otherwise you will never.
You will call back.
You won't have your peace. In actual fact, the shipping lines, shipping agents in Ghana are not operating in a vacuum. Neither are they operating outside the confines of Ghana. They are operating within the remit of this country. If there's an emergency situation and the government of the day or the president comes out to solicit for some kind of remedy or remedial assistance for the citizenry, I think that's incumbent on them to also meet the government halfway.
Okay.
You are a private company, I agree. As we speak today, some of us, we have a problem with even these charges and these payments that we make to the shipping lines. The president has come out to give everybody in Ghana water free for 3 months. The shipping lines are going to enjoy free water for 3 months. The managing director to the smallest person in that company are not going to pay any water bills for 3 months. Shipping lines are going to also enjoy 50% reduction in electricity for 3 months. The managing director and the smallest person in that company are going to enjoy free 50% reduction in electricity for 3 months. The president is asking the whole Ghana to come to the aid of the citizenry in this COVID period. The minister in charge or responsible for transport is saying, or asking, that shipping lines come to our aid. The president has issued a direction that apart from food and medicines, nobody should go to the port to work, or nobody should go to the port to clear. You should have been in TEMA to see how the soldiers always stop cars and return the agents to go back home, because you don't even have a proof to go and tell them you are going to clear food or medicine. So if I am not giving any...
No, but they were not clearing only essential goods. They were clearing other goods.
But I mean that they were going contrary to the government's...
No, because the president's directive said that all cargo can move. It wasn't specific that essential cargo.
But I saw a direction from the Port Authority.
No, the Port Authority...
Which spoke about essential cargo.
The Port Authority made it clear that all goods were being cleared.
Okay.
The same with customs.
Let us assume, without admitting, that what you are saying is correct. If I am going to the port and the security agencies ask me not to go to the port, it means I've been deprived of that privilege to go out there and clear the goods for my customers.
That one.
So why should my customers suffer for that rent or for that? Because the government that is providing that enabling environment for you, the shipping agent, to work in, is stopping me from coming to clear the goods from the port. So why must you hold me accountable for that payment? So I would plead with them. Once all the privileges or all the advantages that the government provided for Ghanaians also was enjoyed by these shipping lines or these shipping agents, I would entreat them to just listen to the transport minister and just let it go. Okay. 3 weeks or so of demurrage shouldn't be a problem at all, if you ask me. Then also, somebody talked about duty-free for teachers. In Ghana, apart from the president, nobody gets duty-free unless you are exempted by parliament. So. Yeah.
Some time ago, the health professionals were
doctors, but at
and nurses, I think.
Yeah, no, only doctors.
Only doctors.
Yes, every 2 years, a doctor was allowed a car into the country free of duty, but a car not bigger than 1.8 liters.
Okay.
Yes, but it got to a point, I think it was being abused, so
that's been taken off.
Yeah, they took it off. Somebody, which is, I think, my little brother, KOD, said the 9th, do I know that some declarations we're putting on the 9th are still not come out? Yes, I am aware. Yes, your leadership came to the ministry to have a discussion with us, and the president eloquently came out with these issues. In fact, it's not supposed to be so, or it shouldn't even happen. But when this happened, or when something like this happened, it comes to our notice, immediately we'll find out why it happened and we'll resolve it. Okay. I can tell you that as I speak to you, the Commissioner General has been charged to go in, by the senior minister himself, not by any other person, but the senior minister, for him to go in there and find out what has happened. Because if it's somebody who is at the back end who is trying to sabotage the system, then it's not going to be a cool thing for that person. But by and large, I want to assure KOD that if these systems should move from this suffering stage to the appropriate stage where it's going to be free-flowing, he's going to enjoy Unipass more than anything. He says that if I'm aware that ICOMS, a collection of revenue on ICOMS will not be done by ICOMS itself or the banks itself, but a private company.
Yeah.
KOD, whether a private company or the banks or customs, what I want to see is the fact that government revenue is collected, protected, and collected in a way which will not make you suffer as a forwarder and not make us suffer as a government. As we speak, we are doing everything possible to make it very easy for the freight forwarders not to go to the bank. Today, with this armed robbery and all these things going on, I mean, you don't want to send somebody with a bag full of money to go out there and make payment and get accosted by an armed robber and the money taken away from them. So what we are doing is to ensure that we have a system which will make the freight forwarders or the agents suffer less, whereby after your declaration comes back from TSB, you'll be able to pay on the system. Whether it's custom or whoever, don't let us bother ourselves too much with who collects it.
Okay. Yeah. Would you respond to Celestina, and then we can wrap up, because
what did she say? What is
we'll be picking? He says anytime there is a new system, the agents are allowed to clear old CCVR on the old portal, and then an effective date is given, so all new entries will be made.
Yes.
On the new system.
Celestina should understand that, you see, at the point, you cannot make payment on GCNet system anymore. You see, once that arrangement is unplugged, if you do your declaration through the GCNet, you'll not be able to pay your duty, and for that matter, you'll not be able to clear. That's why we are saying that at a certain point, only those who have paid their duties through GCNet will be allowed to continue up to the 15th of May.
Okay.
Otherwise, whether you have done your RDF or you have done your UCR or whatever, come back onto the ICON. It doesn't take much time. Celestine, I don't think you will suffer, too much energy to, sit down and re-input all these things on the net. I mean, let us help the government to help the country, and encourage also government to come up with new system which will help us develop the country.
Okay, let me pick the international news and the schedules of the vessels that are arriving in the port quickly, just in about 2-3 minutes, and then we'll be crossing over to the president, who will be addressing the nation exactly at 8. So, international news next.
Major HMM has held a naming ceremony for the first of its 12 24,000 TEU container ships. The HMM Algeciras, described as the world's largest bulk ship, was named at the Daewoo Shipbuilding and Marine Engineering's Okpo Shipyard in Jeoji, Korea. The ceremony was presided by the President of the Republic of Korea, Moon Jae-in, and First Lady Kim Jong-suk served as godmother of the ship. Vessel particulars of HMM Algeciras include length overall, approximately 399.9 meters, beam 61.0 meters, depth 33.2 million, and capacity 23,964 TEU. HMM Algeciras is scheduled to be deployed on Far East Europe 4 service, one of the Asia-North Europe trade lines of the alliance. Its port rotation starts at Zhendao, Busan, Ningbo, Shanghai, Yantian, Suez Canal, Rotterdam, Hamburg, Antwerp, London Gateway, then Singapore via Suez Canal. Dubai-based port and terminal operator DP World had a robust performance in the first quarter of the year, with a like-for-like throughput broadly flat year-on-year. The port operator handled 17.2 million TEU across its global portfolio of container terminals in the first quarter of 2020, with gross container volumes decreasing by 1.7% year-on-year on a reported basis and up to 0.3% on a like-for-like basis. The port operator believes greater challenges lie ahead, with the anticipated decline of global trade and volumes in the second quarter of the year and onwards. Hence, the economic impact of the pandemic is expected to be felt to a greater extent in the coming quarter. German container shipping major Hapag-Lloyd says it has cut its carbon dioxide emissions per TEU kilometer by 50% when compared to the reference year of 2008. The goal was achieved through economies of scale as the company introduced bigger and more efficient ships with improved water resistance on its routes. The shipping industry has been under considerable pressure to reduce its carbon footprint, with regulatory authorities charting the way forward with even stricter regulations. January 2020 marked the beginning of unprecedented transition of the shipping industry into a greener future, with a regulation mandating the level of sulfur content in marine fuels limited to 0.50%.
Okay, so as we're about wrapping up, Honorable Carlos, you take the Mr. Agbaga, Joseph Agbaga, ask something about the paperless, if there's assurance for that. And there's also IDF's refund if they have paid already, now that they are moving to Unipass technology.
No, well, let me assure the former president of GIF that paperless has come to stay. I mean, it's the way to go, and there's no way we are going to abuse it, ever. Of course, even if you look at what the Trade Facilitation Agreement says on paperless, it tells you that we are on course as a nation, and that's the way to go. We can assure him it's never going to be challenged or have any hiccups.
Okay.
When it comes to the payment of money online, honestly speaking, it will be the arrangement between you and your bank. For example, I'm sure we would have about 5-6 banks rolling up for this program. Now, if, for example, if you have a bank like, say, Commercial Bank, which is part of the system, you must physically have money with Commercial Bank to be able to pay online. So when it so happens that your duty is, let's say, 5,000 Ghana cedis, you go to Commercial Bank's portal, you take 5,000 from your account, it goes in there. So arrangement between you and them, if they have to charge any extra charge, that's up to you and them.
Okay, so it's just about a few seconds to 8 p.m. Thank you for watching the program. My guest for tonight has been Honorable Deputy Minister for Trade and Industry, Member of Parliament for TEMA West Constituency, Honorable Carlos Ahenkra. His Excellency the President should be speaking at 8 p.m. I'm told. 1,550 confirmed cases of COVID, 11 deaths, 155 recoveries is what has been announced so far. We should all try and observe the rules and the protocols that have been put in place. Wear the nose mask, use the sanitizers. Thank you.